remember at the beginning of the semester, I said, you know, when we're not doing stuff on our devices, I'm going to want them away. But some of you are realizing that because we write at different speeds, okay, that having that PowerPoint in front and writing it in your notes, that's great. Right? That's okay. I'm okay with that. Or if you just want to write the note as we do it, that's great too. Again, I don't want you to be texting. If you're texting and I catch you, I will make you feel bad. Okay. So, yesterday we talked about energy and how energy enters our system. All right? And we call it an ecosystem. All right? But I'm a chemist and a physicist. I'm more comfortable talking about chemistry and physics. That's my knowledge. But we use the term system in that as well. All right? We use the term system in chemistry to describe whether we put a lid on a beaker or something when doing a reaction, or we leave it out in the open, or whether we put it in a thermos so none of the heat can come and go. So if we leave it wide open, we call it an open system. Anything can come and go, right? Matter can come and go, and energy can come and go, and all kinds of things can come and leave an open beaker. But if we put a lid on it, kind of like when we were looking at our pond water, we call that a closed system, okay? And in a closed system, you can't have any matter come and go. So everything that's in the jar has to stay, but energy can come and go, right? If I have a closed jar, energy can enter the system by light coming in, all right? Or it can get warm, so heat can come in. So heat and light can come in. And then we have one last type of system that we talk about in chemistry and physics, and that's if we don't want any energy to come and go or matter to come and go. In other words, we want everything to stay in there. A thermos is a good example of this type of a system. Not that you have organisms in your soup, but if you want to keep your coffee or your soup warm, you're going to put it in a thermos, you're going to close it up tight, and that's going to keep the heat in, all right? Or the cold, I guess, if we're talking about a cold beverage, okay? Now, an ecosystem, right, which we can think of as something being small, like a drop of water or even our jar, or we can think of it as being as big as the Earth itself, one giant ecosystem, is, well, let's think about it. What kind of a system out of those three that I described, open, closed, or did I tell you the word of the last one? It's called isolated. Isolated is when we don't let energy in and out at all, nothing, put it in a thermos. Open, wide open. Closed is put a lid on it, and then isolated, put it in a thermos. What do you think our Earth is as a system? Because our Earth is a system. It's got matter in it. There's all kinds of things going on. Would it be counted as like a big open beaker? Or would it be counted as like a jar with a lid on it? That stuff, that light and energy can come and go? Or would it be like a thermos that we put it in and we close it out from the rest of the universe? What type of system do you think it is? Yeah, what do you think? An open system? Why would you say that? We can come and go by getting a rocket ship and leaving, correct? And energy can come and go, correct? So practically speaking, like we could get a rocket and leave the Earth. Do a lot of people leave the Earth? Not many. In actual fact, we don't really leave very far away. Has there ever been an astronaut that has left to the point where they've never come back? No, there hasn't. So it's kind of open. Has there been anything ever built by humans that have left the Earth and has never, ever come back? Yep. Certain satellites, do we know the name of some of them? Those old ones, back in the 70s.
I was going to say the Mars rover.
That's a good one. I like that. It's left the Earth and hasn't come back. I like the Mars rover. I'm old, so I think of the ones in the 70s. They're called Voyager. One was called Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, and they're still going. Like they've left the solar system, going and going. Are you checking for notes? Is that what you're doing, Jess? Checking notes? Oh, excellent. That's good. That's good use of technology. Okay, so practically speaking, it is open. Under normal circumstances, it's actually closed. Most of the matter stays on the Earth. But can energy come and go? Can energy come and go of the system? Jana's going, yeah. Sun comes in, heat goes out, some light goes back out, because that's how the aliens can see the Earth as they fly by, right? Because if no light bounced off, the aliens wouldn't be able to see the Earth. Okay, so when we talk about our system, energy can come in. That's good. Without the energy coming in, we'd be done. That energy is light. The machines that make the energy into stuff that we can consume are the plants, the green plants. And now we want to talk about once that energy is in, how does that food and how does that energy get distributed? So that little talk that I just had was a little bit of a review. So let's talk about food chains and food webs, and now some terminology. Okay, so energy is now in, came from the sun. Green plants did their job and made some sugar. Yep. Does it? Does yours too? All right. I've changed what I wanted on that PowerPoint. So let's just go off the PowerPoint now because you'll be writing less. I've deleted a lot of information. So if you're trying to write ahead, you will be writing more. If you want to write less, look at the screen here. And we want to write less, don't we? What's that? Do you? You see, I thought I had updated it. So some devices are giving the same and some are giving different. Right. Right. And I've taken away the extra words. Right? So you can write off of the screen that you're looking at, but that's going to be less words. What I've done is I've gone through the PowerPoints and I've tried to get rid of the excess words, because sometimes our notes are too many words, right? Because like you're reading there, yours says, we can explain energy flow by living things by their trophic levels. And I'm just saying that this energy movement and ecosystem explains energy flow by living things. You see what I'm saying? The we can does not increase our knowledge in any way, does it? I don't think it does. So what you write is up to you. If you're writing off of the screen, it's going to be a little more. I must not have updated the PowerPoint on that, on Google Classroom. Okay, so trophic level. All right? I need to know where words come from in order to understand them. So I looked up one of the words on what I would call a word, not a word history kind of website, but something that explains the origin of words, okay? And it breaks down where words come from. And one of the words we're going to look at today is called a heterotroph, all right? A heterotroph. So in order to help me understand what that means, I need to look up what that is. Hetero means other, all right? Hetero just means other type. Trophs, feeders, all right? I've even seen trophs be food, all right? So trophic literally means food levels, and it comes from the Greek, trophos, food or feeder, something that's eating something or something that's eating food. So when we are talking about a trophic level, we're talking about a level of food, all right? I'm not talking about like a table full of food, but I'm talking about different ways in which we consume food in an ecosystem. So in an ecosystem, there are three main types. There are the producers. The producers are the plants, all right? So the producers are the plants because they produce that food from the sun. We are not producers because we can't go out to the sun and just stand out there and have green skin and just make our own food. That'd be awesome. We wouldn't need to eat. We would just go stand out in the sun, but we can't. There are consumers, all right? Consumers eat the plants. Thank you. All right? So the primary consumers eat the plants. And that's where they're going to get their energy from. Okay? Here's your code, the thing I was talking about. Okay? Save that and I'll explain what it is later. So the primary consumers eat the plants. The secondary consumers eat the primary consumers. They eat the animals. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I like steak. Some of you may not like steak, but I like steak. And I like pork chops. So I eat other animals. And therefore, I'm a secondary consumer. Okay? Secondary consumers, they eat other animals. Okay? All right? Producers of the plants, primary consumers, primary means initial, first, eat the plants, and secondary consumers eat other animals. Yes? Sure, yes. Yeah, we'll get to the intricacies in a moment. Yeah. That was just the simplest way to define it. Okay. Consumers are called autotrophs. But what did I say, consumers? Sorry. Again, yeah, again, not my subject, so I have to think and talk at the same time. That's tricky for me. Producers are called autotrophs. Remember, what did the troph part mean? Food. Auto means all by itself. So an autotroph makes its own food. It's its own food producer. Autotroph. They make their own food. Examples. I should have changed that to an EG. That's what I like to put. We don't need to write the word example. Whenever you see example on my notes, just write an EG. Plants, algae, certain bacteria have the ability to do that. Some bacteria actually have chlorophyll and they can do that themselves. So producers are called autotrophs. They make their own food. Plants, again, some algae, etc., etc. Again, I'm not sure who's writing ahead and who's writing behind or whatever. I'm going to just click. If I need to go back, let me know. Is that fair? Just tell me if I got to back it up. Okay. Primary consumers are heterotrophs. Hetero means others, right? It means they feed on others. They feed on the producers. If we're talking about things that just feed on producers, we're talking about herbivores. I didn't look that one up. That's one that I've always kind of known. The herb part, I believe, means plants. I don't know the exact meaning of that. I would assume it means consumes only plants or something. I could put it in that little program and check it out. Maybe we'll do that at the end. Okay? And I remember in the past teaching this, people then at this point want to talk about things like, what about a vegetarian? What about someone who's vegan and all that different stuff? Which is, and I'm not mocking it, even though I'm using my mocking voice. But someone who's vegan, I believe they don't even eat eggs or anything that's a product of a live thing. So I believe a vegan would truly be a herbivore. It would only be plants and plant-based material that they eat. Where a vegetarian sometimes eats eggs, maybe, or just don't eat meat. Just doesn't eat meat. Yeah. Yeah. Right. but not the animals themselves. Yeah, so I don't know where that falls under, to be honest. Like if you eat an egg, does that mean you've eaten another little animal? I don't think so, but I don't know. Anyway, I'm not here to debate all that good stuff. Let's keep rolling. Let's keep rolling. Secondary consumers. Well, they're also heterotrophs, but underneath there we've got omnivores that eat both plants and animals, and carnivores that just eat animals. So because they eat other things, other plants, they don't produce their own food. Remember, it means they're eating others that have produced food. That is the same word. So we've got to kind of, differentiate. So really, if we're saying it, the herbivores and the omnivores and the carnivores are all heterotrophs, right? They all are eating others for food. It's just the herbivores, they're a primary consumer. They just eat plants. Okay? So again, it's a little confusing, but if we keep an eye on that term, heterotroph, other food of others, then we'll be able to keep it straight, right? Does a herbivore rely on others for food? Yes, the plants. Does an omnivore who eats plants and animals rely on others for food? Yes, the plants and the other animals, right? Does a carnivore who eats just other animals rely on others for food? Yes, the other animals, okay? And so that's why that word is there in both. Again, and I'm not trying to point out, but I would think most humans fall in the omnivore, right? A balanced diet of vegetable or vegetative kind of not vegetative, but vegetable matter, along with some plant or some animal matter for protein. Again, not my strength, hence all of the tripping over the words. Okay, we also have something in an ecosystem called decomposers. If I'm going too fast, tell me to back up, or if you back up, it's okay. The other way to get the information, Jess, would be for me to have you read a textbook and write your own notes.
I mean, you talk so much.
It does. By the way, my microphone's on. It's listening to your conversation, so don't talk about other teachers right now. Boom. Decomposers. Eat dead remains so bodies can decay. You might think that if a tree were to fall in a forest, or perhaps an animal were to die in the forest, that if it didn't have anything to decompose it, that it might just happen all on its own. But it does not. I guess in theory that means if something, a plant or a thing, were to die, say, in an environment where there is no bacteria and nothing, that it would not decay. It would just be there. There would be nothing to cause the decay. All right? So the decay of matter must have organisms that are responsible for that. Things like bacteria, right, that start to consume whatever the deceased material is. It could be even more complex, like worms, right, that consume broken down material. It can be even also more complex, like a vulture that eats dead material and then through its digestive system processes that material and breaks it down into its nutrients. All right. So it can be very simple things like bacteria, and it can be higher organisms, like I said, like a vulture or something that eats dead material. I think maybe hyenas might also eat dead matter, but I don't know that. It's just I don't know why. I think I might have read that somewhere. Okay. Danton, did you want to add to something there? Do you have a question?
Sure. In the Lion King movie,
Yeah.
hyenas were eating live.
Oh, look at what I just did. I threw that marker right in that garbage can. I'm sorry, I'm completely disoriented. I dropped this and then dropped my marker right in the garbage can. So anyway, hyenas, I don't think, only eat dead matter. I think they might eat living matter as well, probably. But I thought I'd read somewhere that they'll also eat a dead animal of that sort. I'm gonna advance the slide, and then I'm gonna figure out how I'm gonna deal with my marker in the garbage can. I think that's what I'm gonna do, and then I'll wash my hands. Moving on. Types of decomposers. It's okay, but yeah. Oh my God, that's disgusting. What the heck? It disappeared completely. Keep writing. There you see the scavengers. There's the example, hyenas. That's not where I read it. Oh, I didn't know crows will eat dead matter, but someone who knows more about it than I do added that there, so I believe them. Saprovores, again, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, eat dead remains, break it down chemically, bacteria, fungus, etc., etc. There you can see the fungus growing. After a big rain on my lawn, I always find that I've got fungus, mushrooms growing in a certain shape. It concerns me. Maybe that somebody that lived there before me buried something that I should be concerned about, but I don't know. Again, this is for our online world. Grace just said it was fairies. Well, that's what I was going for. Something more disgusting, like a dead animal or something. But hey, it could be fairies. No, it can't be, internet. Okay. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. You've now gone on to things that are on the internet that I don't know of, and therefore my age is showing, and I'm going to continue. Can I continue?
No. Yes.
Everyone relax. Yes, correct. That's what happened there. Can I click? Can I click? Yes. Okay, so 2 more things. Listen up. Now that we've talked about the different terminology that goes along with this kind of consumption of food. We want to express it in kind of a chart form, and the classic chart form that we have as ecologists is the food chain, all right? And the other method in which we draw this up and show it kind of in a diagram that gives us some information is a food web. How many of you have heard of food chains or food webs from other courses? Awesome. Okay, so this should be a little bit of review. If you haven't, it's not a big deal. Food chain, specific feeding patterns to show how energy is transferred from one organism to the next. All right, it always starts at the bottom, right? They tend to go up. Sometimes we draw them left to right. But from the bottom, we always start with our primary producers. Second always comes the primary consumer. And then so on and so on. We have then the secondary consumers that consume the plants. And then perhaps higher level consumers. You can see here we've used the term tertiary consumer. Simply means third level consumer. And here we have another term, quaternary consumer. I'm not concerned whether you know those other terms. It simply means another layer up above. I think on my next slide I have, nope. So let's draw on here a very simple version of a food chain, and I should have made that smaller so I could draw it with you, and I wanted to draw it on the slide. So let's draw our own little food chain down here. Once you get that written, I'm going to draw a little one right here, and just to give you a very short example of one. And this is kind of where I want to bring in this idea of using this app to learn about different types of plants. I'm still not exactly sure how to use it yet, but if you've had a chance to use that Seek thing, you might have maybe went outside and take a picture of some plants. And what it does is it shows you what different types of plants are around you. But usually when we teach this stuff, we go back to the basics. So like if I'm going to talk about the primary consumer, typically we like to start with something so simple that we say something like grass. Ooh, grass. All right. So we have that then as our primary producer. So I'm going to just put that there as the producer. All right. Grass. And then arrow up to our next consumer. I'm just going to put here P, primary consumer. And again, to keep it nice and simple, what in a very simplified ecosystem eats grass? Yep. A rabbit. Awesome. A rabbit. So we could have a rabbit. All right. And that's like super boring. You know what I mean? If the world was made of just grass and rabbits, we wouldn't be surviving. And so I want eventually for us to go outside and be able to look at some diversity other than always putting grass and rabbits. But that's what we'll do for this point. So let's move up one more level, and let's put here, I'm just going to put here S for secondary consumer. Consumer. And secondary consumer, I'm going to jump into here, and we'll use this guy here. I'm sure if you had a big enough snake, you could have a snake eat a rabbit. Maybe it was a baby rabbit or something, a especially cute little furry baby rabbit, eaten by a snake. All right, awesome. Yeah, it's okay. I'm all right with the harshness of the real world. So then we have our snake, and I have never ever seen this before, but it appears as if eagles like to go and attack snakes and eat snakes. And that picture, oh, what's that? Have you? Grab a snake? Awesome, nice, that's good. I've never actually seen it, but that would be really cool to see. I've seen the big birds get the mice and that type of stuff, but never grab a snake. So we'll go up here and we'll call this a T for tertiary, third level consumer. And let's go with an eagle, and that's always exciting. So again, that's just a very simplified rendition of a food chain that I'm hoping you put in your notes to illustrate that. Again, we start down and we move up. or I've seen it where we go left to right, and the arrow points in the direction of the energy flow. So we don't have it going down, but we have it going up towards the higher trophic levels. All right? So remember at the very beginning we talked about trophic levels. These levels in our food chain are the trophic levels. And do we remember what the word trope stood for? We did it right at the very beginning. What was trope, Jack? Food. So these are the food levels, right? So we're looking at the food levels as the food moves up the chain. We okay with that? All right. Now, I've seen other teachers stop there and do a little investigation on food chains, but I don't want to drag this out. In reality, rabbits don't just eat grass. So it's more complex. In reality, we have what would be called a food web, all right? A food web, and it is kind of an interlocking of the different food chains that represents how kind of diverse a food system in an ecosystem is. All right, and I don't know whether we want to write down an example for that. We could. I could help you here. I'll let you write that part, and then I'll talk about the example. That's fun. So, I'm sorry. I'm just enjoying the different types of things. So if we wanted to draw one, well, here it's got green plants. So I'm going to go to keep it simple. I'm going to go to the good old grass. Right? So you could write grass down there near the bottom. And then this arrow here, can anybody see what that is on the left there? Insects. I'm going with bugs because insects has a lot of letters in it. You might spell it wrong. We want to avoid that. I'm going to go with bugs. Look at here. Good stuff. There's our rabbit. They have hair. Hair's actually easier to spell than rabbit. We could go with hair, but heck, we'll stick with rabbit. Bunny. You could put bunny. And it appears as if they both like the grass. You see where this is kind of going? I have no idea what a grouse is. It is. It's right there. But I have no idea. I've never seen a grouse. Is it? All right. I do know what a mouse is. So I'm going to write mouse. And I'm just going to avoid the grouse. You can do whatever you'd like. I know what a weasel is. But I guess we need weasel in order to get to the owl, don't we?
No.
You can put ferret.
You could.
Or you can just go all the way around and rabbit and owl.
I like that. I think owls eat mice and rabbits, don't they?
Yeah.
Let's just skip the weasel. Because I don't trust weasels. No, that's a joke. Somebody's a weasel. Don't trust them.
It's actually really funny.
Thank you. Thank you. You're just saying that, but you're wise. You know that I mark your stuff, and therefore you're very, very smart at complimenting me. This is obviously an owl. This says shrew. I think it does. I have no idea, but I know what a bat is.
Okay. Like from bug?
Bug to bat.
Okay.
Well, then why not stick mouse in there again?
Mouse is already in there.
And then we'll go from bat to owl. All right. I think we get the idea, though, right? A small web?
Yeah.
Well, that's okay. It's webby. web-like. It's got webness in there. No? All right. Okay. So that's the end of my note. There's another example. Again, you know, it's so easy to cut and paste pictures from the internet, as you guys know. So that, you know, kind of tells us a little bit something. The idea is that in a real ecosystem, food doesn't move in lines. Different things eat different things and, at each level, and therefore it can get complicated. Okay. So at this point on Google Classroom, again, I have a little worksheet that I'm asking you to work through, and I'm asking you to put it in your notes ideally, but some of you have wanted to work on the sheet online. I'm not picky about it, but I'd ask you to put your answers in your notebook ideally, and we'll work on that for the rest of the class, and if we get done, we can take it up. Same scenario as yesterday, okay? Let me just complete my little recording here.